Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Event Industry News podcast. My name is James Dickson, wishing you a very good morning, afternoon or evening, whenever or wherever you are joining us from. Today's podcast, as always, is brought to you by our sponsor, Engage, powered by D2I Systems, winner of Best Event Management Platform at the 2017 Event Technology Awards. To learn how Engage can make your business more profitable, visit d2isystems.com/engage. And a very warm welcome to everybody to today's show, and a very warm welcome to not one, not two, but three guests. We're going to dive straight in there, welcome our guests, because we've got a lot of stuff that we want to talk about today and a lot of messages that the guys who are joining us want to get through. First of all, please welcome CEO of DB Systems and DBpixelhouse, as we'll learn more about very, very shortly, David Bulley. David, welcome to the show.
Yeah, hello. Thanks very much for having me.
Not a problem at all. And we also welcome to the show Head of Sales, James Barnett. James, nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too.
And Head of Content, Ali Reece. Ali, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, James. Thank you for having us.
No problem at all. Our three guests today all work for a company that many of our podcast followers will be aware of, DB Systems. Now, that's as you know it at the moment. Today, our three guests are on to talk about some changes, some evolution, and some developments that are taking place within that organisation. So, David, perhaps over to you first of all. Let's look at exactly what's happening with DB Systems as we know it at the moment, and how things are going to be evolving in the very near future.
Well, historically, we obviously grew out of the tech side of the business, and that's still a major chunk. We've still got 25,000 bits of kit that we rent out to people. We've had sort of three main brands that we've operated under, so the AV and the IT hire, and then networks, and then DBpixelhouse. What we're doing is a natural evolution of both us as a company and actually changes in the industry, in that we're going to rebrand ourselves as DBpixelhouse. Mm-hmm. And what that means really is we're one team of experts with various different disciplines, whether that's hardware, the tech, whether it's content or production. So that's really the major change that we've got. I think because of our history, one can get typecast into how you're perceived in the market. Mm-hmm. And we do so much more now than purely supply hardware. We get involved in some really innovative content and software for some really big brands. So it's really about, I think, what the visitor is looking for at an event now, and the data that the brands are looking for as well. So it's quite a mix, I think.
So we know now that so instead of DB Systems, for clarity, we're going to be known as DBpixelhouse, and that will be the main brand. Will that see any shift in focus at all, guys, from what you've done in the past with the AV side of things? Because presumably you will have clients who are very much using you and utilize you for the hardware hire side of things. Will it affect that anyway? Is there going to any shift into where the majority of your business will focus on?
I think from the hardware side, it's business as usual. I think as time's moved on, sort of 20 years ago, the revolutionary items were sort of the tech. Now that's still true to a certain point. We're looking at the change in the last 12 months from 3.6 mil to 2.6. But actually, what we're doing here is integrating the software and the hardware to come up with solutions for our clients.
Yeah. And I suppose, Ali, that's perhaps where you come in as head of content. Presumably, you must have seen a shift in the last few years as the company has been able to offer more sophisticated hardware. When you look at the visual side of things, particularly the sort of the modular screens and the development of LED content, presumably you've had more and more clients that have come to you as a company saying, "This is great that you've got this hardware, but we actually don't have anything that could go on there. We actually don't know how to utilize this type of hardware in the best way, shape or form." Is that where your side of things has come in, Ali, where you've been able to actually help them create content to utilize on your own hardware?
Correct, yeah. I mean, I think we were probably one of the first movers to set up a content vision as part of a AV and tech supplier. So I think we're kind of first movers on that, but we pretty much become a consultancy for people who want to do software and content at events. And that's where we really see our business going in the future as well. We obviously still provide all of the technology to put it on, and that's been our core previously. And we just wanted to change our name to reflect the fact that the content and software are becoming more and more increasingly important, and has been over the last sort of 10 years that we've been doing it, really. So yeah, it's more a shift of name change to sort of represent what we actually do as opposed to what we used to do.
And David, decisions like this for a company like yours are not overnight decisions. You don't just wake up one morning presumably and say, right, this is what we're going to do. What's the development timeline been like for this change, and what have you sort of had to look at, from an infrastructure point of view as a company?
Well, I think I sort of take it back a bit, really. I think we've always tried the best we can to be, as Ali says, first movers in what we're doing. And I think we just feel like this is us trying the best we can to lead the industry in terms of offerings that are supplied by people like us. So no, it is an element, I suppose, of risk to it, but I've always believed in change in the business, and this business has changed on numerous occasions in terms of what we've offered over the last 20-25 years. So I think change is good. I think it reinvigorates what we're doing. I think it changes perceptions with our customers and with the brands that they look after as well. So it's been something that's been really something that's been happening over the last 2 years as more and more content, more and more data is required, more and more return on investment information from the brands and the agencies, and it's all all sort of come together to mean that it's about what we've got, but it's also about what we all know and how we can use that to help the brands and the agencies.
James, just looking at your role as head of sales, when David just mentioned demands for return of investment information and more data and more analytics, could you perhaps expand on that and go into some of the detail about how it is you generate that and the demands that you've had from clients when you're looking from a sales perspective at how that data or how that return of investment information manifests itself?
Yeah, I think sort of as time's gone on, sort of meeting new clients and working with current customers as well, the hardware is great, but also we need to include the content on there as well. But from a brand point of view, they really want to know who's interested in what product, and be able to measure that throughout the day as well. So that's part of what we're doing now, is to be able to give them the ROI at the end of the show, and then they can focus on, obviously after that, with following up with their clients, and then moving forwards what works well and what doesn't work so well. And
I'm curious as well, because with a company, and I mean this in a positive way, seemingly diverse as yours, David, you're offering an awful lot of scope for very, very different types of events, presumably. How big is the spectrum of stuff that you are working on as a company? And perhaps, Ali, you might be able to give us an indication of some of the content that you're creating for that sort of spectrum of clients.
Of course, yeah. So, I mean, as I said, we've worked with agencies and brands for the last sort of 10 years, 12 years doing content side of things. Previously, before that was just the hardware, but we've got quite a good back catalogue of huge products we've done. We did world's largest object recognition table, for example. We first movers on that. We have a wide range of transparent technology. We've produced the software for that, and it's all about the combinations. I used to get asked pretty much on a daily basis by design agencies and brands, what's the latest technology? And whilst we answer that question, I think there's a better question to ask, which is how can we get the most impact out of our event? And that's what we've been doing for the last 10 years, really, is combine the technologies together, but also combining it with the software and content, so that we do things such as, whole event RFID systems, where you can go around and you can collect information, tap in and out of particular areas, you get personalized content based on your RFID code, etc., right down to single stand exhibition systems, where we might produce 30 or 40 different sales detailer aids apps, and all of those apps can generate real-time live data and feed it back to the customer, our client, the brand or the agency, so that they know more about the visitors on their stand. And let's face that all companies want to know more about the audience that they're speaking to. They want to get those insights and use them to transform how they run their business.
Certainly. And I suppose on the subject of trends, David, presumably you've seen trends, shift and change and morph in the years that you've been operating the company. Just looking at maybe the last 18 months, 2 years, with technology moving so quickly, what are some of the most common demands that you've seen suddenly spring up in the last 2 years or so, where you think we really need to be on the ball with that and stay sharp?
Well, I think the key differential is, as I think I said, is the, when I first started, you'd have real revolutions in technology, going back for those similar age to myself might even remember CRT, that went to flat screen. We bought plasma screens, then it went to LED screens, and we bought LCD video walls, which were quite revolutionary. You just had to use the tech on your stand. Whereas now, it's not, you can't make enough of a buzz just using the tech. It's the amalgamation of the tech and what goes on it. And whether that's to, we try and split it up into 3 sections, whether that's just to attract people to your stand, whether it's to inform, give people information, because the great thing about trade shows is it's sort of a perfect market, isn't it? You've got willing buyers and sellers. You go there as a visitor because you want information. You're actually interested in what it is that's there. So let's give them that information. Let's inform them what they're doing. And in the background, let's get insight for the exhibitors into what their customers are actually looking for. So it's really that, and that's the reason for making this change. It's the amalgamation of all those very different skill sets. So we do work for some really major pharmaceutical companies, and it's a mix. We have the tech side, which is putting in the hardware. We run quite a sophisticated network over the stand because they may have 200 marketeers all on iPads. We're collecting, and then we're putting content on those iPads and collecting every single bit of data that comes from it. Some of these brands have real KPIs of what they're looking to get on their trade show stand. They may want 84% of the visitors going to the show to actually get in their stand, and they want evidence of that, and they want to know what that visitor is interested in. And then also, obviously, you've got the social media aspect as well. So it's a mix. Events are evolving in quite a big way, I would say.
James, just picking up on something that David said, and sort of thinking about it, I suppose chronologically, when we had things like iPads and touchscreen devices really sort of leap out at us. I suppose there was a period of time where the tech in itself, as David said, was the wow factor. There was almost the gimmick of having iPads on stands and people to be able to pick up these devices and touch them. As they are seen now as such a normal part of everyday life, people carry them around in their handbags and in their school bags, and kids have got smartphones in their pockets. The tech itself is no longer the wow factor. We've almost gone full circle, haven't we? Where now it's come back to the content that's going onto those devices that 10 years ago were a gimmick.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if you do have an iPad now, what are you actually going to do with it? What content are you going to put on it? How are you going to use it? And that's where we sort of integrate the tech, the content and the production. For example, we've recently done an iPad wall, which has consisted of 150 iPads, making that into effectively a video wall. And then being able the capability to pull that iPad out of the wall and show specific content to the brand, and then place it back in and it plays the overall video. And that's the sort of thing we're looking at to really sort of entice the brand and the agency.
How does that sort of stuff, work from a programming point of view? Because I would guess that iPads are not necessarily geared up to be able to do that and be, utilised in a modular sense where they can be put together. So how long does that type of idea take to actually deliver, and whose idea was that? Will that come from the client, or will that be something that your creative team, Ali, have looked at and said, actually, maybe we could do this with iPads?
Yeah, so I think the initial idea is obviously spurred on by either ourselves or our client or the brand themselves, but then it's very much a collaborative process that we all parts get together and we kind of tap into what DBpixelhouse is really, which is a collection of different expertise. We've got experts in augmented reality and virtual reality and animation and design and all manner of programming, but we've also got all of the production technique in-house, and we've got all of the techie minds who know how to put all this stuff together from a physical point of view. So the ideas factory, the content part of it is sort of a collaborative process, but then we've got the guys that actually know how to deliver it, and we've got all of the kit in the same company. It's one big team, and that's kind of our key offering really, is we're a turnkey solution for all of your problems to do with tech, content or production. You know, that's our manifesto to our clients and the brands. I
suppose, David, that's relatively speaking quite a unique position to be in as an organisation, isn't it? Because there are fantastic AV suppliers out there, there are fantastic hardware suppliers, there are great tech programmers, there are great companies who deal with logistics and getting things and ideas delivered and created and you know, turned into real life, you know, physical entities. You guys seem to be very much geared up to do all of that literally under one roof.
Yeah, it's really exciting. When we sort of started the content side of the business, which was quite a long time ago, we weren't quite sure where it was going to end up, but it's so integral now into what the agencies and the brands are looking for. It's exciting. I mean, part of the thing for us is we're just quite excited to see how far we can take it, how far we can go. We're looking at opening a demo suite in London, so some of the agencies can have easier access to the tech. We were talking yesterday about opening up an office in the US to sell some of these services in the US, which we're already doing. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. It's all quite exciting.
As a company doing what you do, I often say, particularly on this podcast, that the companies in the UK that we've got within the events industry are often not just market leaders, but innovators globally in what we're doing with the events industry and with tech. Would you guys, mentioning that you might be looking at opening a US office, David, do you see that as something that will be a very key factor if that was to come to fruition, that the UK is very much seen still as a leader and a trendsetter and a developer when it comes to this type of technology and this type of service?
Yeah, I mean, I think the UK is pretty well known in the events industry as a whole as being pretty expert in what we do. So yeah, I think I'd probably agree with that. Ali, I don't know whether you've got anything to offer on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we already work in the US. We do quite a large number of trade shows over there, particularly on the content side, because digital can cross borders quite a lot easier than white cases can. So kind
absolutely,
of a bit more transferable. But yes, it's definitely seen as a hub for innovation in the UK, and I think for good reason. You know, as I said, we've been first movers on many different things just within our company, but I know that's a trend that's followed for a lot of UK companies. We are very good at piecing together technologies and putting them into a meaningful, impactful way of delivering a brand's message. We just seem to be good at it.
And James, from a sales point of view, when you're working with international clients and people coming from abroad, do you sense this this feeling of people wanting to work with, you know, a British supplier and somebody who is very much at the forefront of their industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's definitely the case, and it's having that wow factor. That's what we seem to get when I go to meetings. Everyone wants the latest, greatest, and as I said earlier, to be able to integrate, you know, the content, the tech, and the production, we're unable to do that. I think it's also important to say that on the hardware side, you know, we're going to be spending upwards of £1 million on capex again, so it's sort of business as usual on that. But then integrating the software into it is key, and that's what our clients want to see.
From a customer point of view, David, on a purely communication level, we're talking today about, you know, a rebrand of a company. What is the timeline for that rebrand? You know, is there an official date where that will happen, or will it be something that will slowly happen, you know, over a period of time? And how will it all be communicated out to your clients and your customers so that they know exactly what's happening?
Well, we're actually planning to do the relaunch on the 10th of July. So that's when we're heavily involved in the production of the Farnborough Air Show.
Right.
You know, you guys might be aware, but we do all of the network at Farnborough, which is Europe's largest temporary network. So we're heavily involved in that, and then we've also got the AV side of the business as well down there, and the content. So we've got all the different sides of what we do down there, and also a lot of our clients are there. So that's our launch date, and on that date, assuming that everything goes according to plan, we'll be launching our new website, we're launching our new brand, we're launching our new sort of strap line, which is Just Imagine.
Okay.
Which is a really, we like that phrase, it's open, it just opens out possibilities. So we've got that side. So the 10th of July should be when we go live. And obviously we're doing a lot of internal communication as well to our internal guys. And then we'll be going out to the agencies and hopefully to talk to them about what stays the same, because we still do a huge amount of tech rental, and we'll carry on doing that. But also if there's anything we can do to help them with their customers, because what we're finding is that the brands themselves are looking for the type of information and the insight that some of our software can give them. So as I say, we're going to go out to brands. Agencies, go out to the agencies and tell them what the changes are, what it means for them in terms of how we can help them as a one-stop shop to deliver for their customers. So our whole sort of thing in business really is to help our customers are the agencies. What can we do to help them? You know, we talk about the things like that large iPad wall, that doesn't come around, you know, from a couple of weeks before the event. That's working really in collaboration with the agencies right at the initial stage of when they're talking to their customers. So that's what we want to get involved in. We're going to go out and give that message and see what happens.
And on the subject of Farnborough, if you don't mind me going sort of just off track ever so slightly, as many of our podcast listeners and watchers will be aware, you know, the scale of the Farnborough International Air Show is vast. You know, it's and again, when we talk about innovation and being a world leader, you know, that's very much another example of it, isn't it? Where as an international air show, that's really considered to be up there with the very best of them. As an organisation, and how difficult is it at the moment when you've got such presumably a lot of stuff to prepare ahead of Farnborough, to sort of be juggling that and also be maintaining what must be quite a large portfolio of other clients and other, you know, sort of day-to-day activities that are happening?
Well, you know, we're a fairly sensibly sized outfit nowadays. We've got, you know, 100 full-time people here. So, and we're very used to doing multiple events on multiple countries, multiple continents. So, so we're used to doing that. Farnborough is yes, it's a big event. We're there in pre-production for probably 3 to 4 months before the event actually happens.
Right.
So, and we've been doing it for quite a while, but so we know what we're doing. But it's just, you know, it's a major international event. You know, when the chief executive of Boeing picks up his telephone, that's our telephone. If it doesn't work, you know, there's hell to pay, because he has meetings every 20 minutes for, you know, 4 days. Similarly, when he's picking up his email, absolutely it has to work. So it's absolutely mission critical. But to a certain extent, we have our systems, we've got some great people, and because it's all about the people. It's never been about the tech. You know, everybody can go and buy the tech. It's about the people. That's what we're saying. We're basically a team of experts, whether those experts are network specialists, whether they're LED, whether they're rigging, whether they're tech, whether they're content, whatever it is, come and talk to us.
And I suppose, but before we start wrapping up the episode, coming back to you, James, and Ali as well, you will have a portfolio of clients, agencies, customers, brands, people that you're working with and have worked with over a prolonged period of time. How exciting is it, though, still, when you get the opportunity to work with new clients and there's that real sort of blank canvas opportunity to sort of show them what you can do?
I mean, speaking for me, that's personally why I think I do the job. I think it's the buzz, that thing you get of it, and of working with those big brands and coming up with basically the craziest, coolest ideas you can possibly think of to make happen on a stand. That's what I think we all enjoy it and what we get into it for. And I mean, as you were just mentioning about having Farnborough going on, whilst also, you know, I was in their meeting yesterday with a large multinational in a completely different sector, but they want the same thing. They want ideas, they want data, they want to know the ROI of their event, and they want us to help them.
James, just Ali mentioned something there about different sectors and different industries. Despite working with clients who, as he says, we work in different trade industries, B2B markets, B2C markets. How much do you guys actually need to know about those sectors, and how much of an understanding do you need to have in order to deliver it? And how much really is transferable irrespective of what sector you're working in, given that a lot of people are wanting the same types of content, the same types of hardware?
I think certainly with sort of our customer base and the sectors they work within, we get a really good understanding of what they're looking to achieve. And obviously we offer up the latest and greatest as much as we can to support that. As far as it being transferable, it goes back to sort of integrating it and being able to offer solutions based on their client demands.
Yeah, I think there are sort of three main reasons why people do events. As I said, it's kind of to attract an audience, inform that audience of the message, and then sort of collect insights on how much the audience has taken away with them and what they've learned from going to that event. And I think that is the bit that's transferable across any of the sectors we work in, from media to tech to aerospace. But I think then there's also individual sector-specific things that we pick up. So we work heavily in pharmaceuticals, and the sort of approval process and the detail level and the, as you can imagine, the kind of lawyer state of that, it is transferable to other sectors, and it helps to be multi-sector, so you can use those different techniques across the sectors we work in.
Excellent. And David, I suppose one thing we should mention to everybody before we start wrapping up today's episode is how people can find out about you. And will the rebrand bring with it new websites, new social media, or anything like that, or will things of that nature pretty much stay the same?
No, we're pretty much changing everything on the same day, in theory. So we're changing, our website's changing. That's going to have some big changes to it. We're changing our branding. Obviously, we're changing all our clothing. Our vans are changing. Our emails are changing. Social media, we're going to be a lot more involved in social media and hashtag Tech Connect production, so that will be going out. So we're hopefully we'll be creating a bit of a stir in the market and quite an invigoration within the business as well. So should be good fun.
Absolutely. I don't envy you at the moment undertaking what you've just said then, at the same time referencing sort of 5 minutes ago the fact that on the 10th of July you'll also be in the middle of an international air show, making sure that the chief exec of Boeing can get his emails. So
yeah, well, to be fair, the air show starts a week later, so we are giving ourselves a week's grace. Okay. There
we go. I think everybody can rest easy then in the company now that it's not bad.
I hope so.
Not as bad as I just made out. Guys, thank you very much for joining us today. We've been talking on the podcast to David Bulley, James Barnett and Ali Reece. The guys are from what is now DB Systems, but as we've been discussing and learning about in the coming weeks, will be rebranded and known simply as DBpixelhouse. And with that, as David just pointed out, changes to social media, changes to websites, but I'm sure by simply going to your favorite search engine, you will no doubt be able to stumble across these guys very, very easily and find out a little bit more about them. Guys, thank you very much for joining the podcast today and talking to us about it all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank you.
Don't forget to, on the subject, I suppose, of social media activity and handles and hashtags and all of that business, Event Industry News, you can get hold of us on Twitter at Event News Blog. The podcast is brought to you by our sponsor, Engage, powered by D2I Systems, winner of Best Event Management Platform at the 2017 Event Technology Awards. To learn how Engage can make your business more profitable, visit d2isystems.com/engage. And that brings us perfectly to the end of today's episode. Thanks very much again to our guests. If you've been watching the podcast on the eventindustrynews.com website and our video podcast, don't forget you can also download the audio-only versions of the podcast to listen to on your commute to and from work via your favorite podcast platform. And we look forward to seeing you all again on the next edition of the podcast. Thanks very much for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thank you.